So I just wanted to introduce Kenny, who's amazing at stories and process. And
thank you. No pressure. Especially as I feel incredibly vulnerable. That took me places. It reminded me about parts of me and places I've been, and lost places and hidden places and nasty places and scary places and places of I want this to stop and I want out now. And to be able to share that with people and demonstrate coming out the other side is huge. I guess the professional suicide I thought I was committing was when someone wrote a story, I think it was on Time to Talk Day, and I was in The Guardian with Stephen Fry. I got a small 2 lines, he got the rest of the article. And it was a link to a blog that I wrote called My Dirty Little Secret, and it was about my dirty little secrets, the mental health, the Tourette's, the twitching, the grunting, the picking at myself, the starving and binging, the OCD, the BDD, the whole lot. And most of these, I mean, the twitching and grunting could not be hidden. No one would know that most of the rest not only ruled my life, but I can now see some of them as an addiction. The weird thing that happened is, as people read my story, they kind of got to think, well, if he's been through that, and I'm sure it's the same with what you're doing, if you've done that, and look at you, then I can do that. And of all things, people said, well, you've been through that, so I want to speak with you, I want to work with you, and I want to go through this because I want to be me more, because you seem to be you more. So I'm going to start by showing that I was part of a BBC 5 documentary called It's Tough Being Men. So a lot of what we've talked about is what about the men. So this is where the what about the men thing started. I was surprised that the producer of the show took me somewhere that I hadn't been taken to before and I hadn't actually seen, and as I could see myself, then I could feel myself, and it opened the door. So let's watch. Thank you. Thanks, Neil. Last week on the RSA stage, there's a guy called Johan Harry who was putting this book out, and I had a quick chat with him, and I said, what about men's groups and what about men? And he came back to me saying, this is all by text, it's touring America and doing great. The people in our culture who were most deeply disconnected from each other and from their own emotions are often men. Men's groups are necessary, and you know, I wear reading glasses these days. I should have printed a bigger. Men's. Shall I give it a shot?
Give it a go.
Let's. Oh, look at that! Men's groups are necessary, and moving tool to reconnect, which is at the heart of overcoming depression and anxiety. Thank you. And do you know, I think one of the biggest issues for men is isolation. And it could be not just isolation from other men, from belonging, from community, from purpose, it could be isolation from themselves, isolation from their own, or from our own feelings, from our own thoughts, from our own stories. So, what was it, 16 years ago, I came back from being abroad for 5 years, and most of my closest friends were really into, I've been traveling the world and having adventures and getting useful and growing. Most of my friends really got into their careers and their power and their drugs and their drink and their partying and their, you know, whatever it was that society says, this is how you have to be and this is how to fix things and to keep running. And I just had no space for me, no space to meet them, no space to really exist properly. So I just had the brainwave through sheer desperation of, I need to start a men's group. I didn't know what a men's group was. I'd been running mixed groups when I lived in Sydney, but it's just like, I need to start something. The need was to have space for who I really am, to be met, to be heard, to be amongst other people, for me to test drive some of it to see if it's actually me or not, because I'd changed. And I didn't know what was true and what was just fantasy, to get feedback, just to hang out, just to be real, to get real. And I think that's quite a theme, is there is so little space. Safe space, clean space, maybe for a man to say, I feel like crap, or I'm lost, or I'm confused, or I'm hurting, or I'm carrying this, and I don't know where to put it or what to do with it. So there were about 18 of us in my big lounge. I was in Muswell Hill at that time, and 18 of us. And I basically said, if you can't meet me, then you don't. And I was quite happy to go partying and do the other stuff as well, but I needed that as well. I needed to be met with who I am and in reality. And that's where the men's group started. So that was 16 years ago. What I did, so I've got Bertie on the camera, but this is Bertie's brainchild, is I made up ground rules and a check-in round just to kind of start the men's groups going so people can meet in a space that's set of present, connected, vulnerable, clear, honesty, but without pressure and with choice. So the ground rules came to me, the check-in round came to me, and Bertie said it was before Being a Man Festival last November. Why not just give it away? So I am giving this away. And the next step, and this is for conscious conversations, it's not just for men. And there are things that are men specific. I've been working with some women who take care of men, and their natural instinct is to nurture, to save, to ask a lot of questions. They haven't really been trained how to take a step back and listen, how not to fix, how to be with the pain, how to get men to laugh, cry, breathe, whatever it is they need to, but how to meet a man and how to bring forth what's really going on with the man. So the groups have been going for 16 years. We're giving it away. I look forward to having an app so people can use it as a drinking game or a therapeutic tool or whatever. And we're looking at a documentary, etc., etc. And it is all about what's your story? What's brought you here? What part of you needs space and is aching to come alive? What part of you, maybe a personality that's been designed around misfortune or drama, what part of you is just not true anymore, that you can experiment not being, let it go and leave space for who you are to emerge. And that's the name of the game. Space for us to get real, to let go of what needs to be let go, and let's see who emerges. And I think this was so said earlier, the more I want out of life, the more I'm going to find what's in my shadow that I need to let go of to make space for more of the goodness to come. So it is an ongoing journey. And it looks like I'm in. It's a runaway roller coaster, but how cool to do it with company, with awareness, and through choice. I choose how I feel. When I'm sad and angry and upset, I choose to be sad and angry and upset, and whoever tries to take it away might get in trouble. It's mine until I'm ready for it to pass. So, stories, and we all get the space to tell our stories. Would you like to?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this is Neil, who comes to has been coming to the groups, and also is training to run men's groups. On the first Saturday of the month, I run facilitation programs to train people first steps on how to facilitate a men's group. That Neil's also been going on. So, do you fancy coming here? Come and sit by us.
Thank you. So I found out about Kenny's men's groups 6 years ago or so. I met a man in a sauna who was a member of Kenny's men's groups, and I've been looking for men's groups in London. Prior to that, I'd been married for 12 years or so, had a son, house, job. My wife had separated from me in the last year or so. prior to that, in my 20s, I was hospitalised for quite a few months, and I was given that it was not very welcome diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. So that was my background. I came to Kenny's men's groups, and the first thing that happened to me was that for several months, sitting there listening to other men tell their stories, saying, I was scared, I did something stupid, I did something I regret, I was frightened. It made me realise, no, when I heard all that, I realised that I was actually not intrinsically different from other people, which the diagnosis, I'd chosen from that diagnosis to believe that I was intrinsically different from other people. And I continued through Kenny's men's groups all these years, and I've come back in touch with my emotions in a healthy way. I've learnt techniques that Kenny's taught. For example, other people's thoughts are none of my business. Part of my understanding of my schizophrenia is I'd become so withdrawn and so devalued myself that I was unable to communicate by others except by my imagination of what they were thinking. And I got into things like, that's what that person's thinking, I must do it, then they will reward me for it, and then I got angry because they didn't. And my whole life was in words and second guessing. Kenny taught me the concept of second guessing, i.e. thinking that I know what someone else is thinking. And I'm conscious of that every day now, because still I have to check myself, is that my thought, or is it something I'm thinking someone else is thinking? And Kenny taught me a very gentle way of learning. So when I was stuck in thoughts like that, he said, and I became conscious of being in that imaginary relationship with people. I breathe in, say to myself, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. I breathe out, I let go of the fantasies that I've become conscious of, and I look up and take in the feedback that's around me into my heart and into my ears, observations. And that's a gentle, iterative way of learning, away from, you stupid bloke, you were silly, a negative self-judgment through which you can't grow. Since I've been in Kenny's men's groups, I've successfully reduced my dose of psychoactive medication by 50%, and I'm trialling myself at the moment on a further 25% reduction. I'm training as a Men Facilitate man. I'm looking to branch out of the numerical analysis job that I've been doing for years and years. I'm studying non-violent communication, and I think that's enough.
And you're a damn good father.
Yes.
What's great about that story is the way that you said, and I'm no different from anyone else, and that's what stories do. They reach out and they go beyond, and we all were there with you as you shared that story, so thank you so much. It's really great.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
And for me, I'd say probably for the both of us, to be in relationship with other men, even if it's just for one evening, and to hear who they really are, what's gone on, what's going on, and to watch a penny drop or something change, and suddenly this man has left something behind, stepped into who he is, and begins to live life, to really engage, present and connected, not all about fear or fantasy, or it's just present and connected and taking part in life, exactly as you said. Thank you for reminding me, guys. And it's breaking the spell in the moment. It's not, right, you have to go away and fix this and then come back and blag it and buy your nonsense and sell your nonsense to others. No, get real, get present and connected and take part. And we are so lucky to be surrounded by a community of men that do this and change our lives and celebrate it and learn from each other. Not, I'll fix you or that, you know. It's like, this is where I succeeded, this is where I failed, that's just like me, that's how I want to be, that's not how I want to be, so I know what not to do. And so life continues.